Dumelang Sambanani, hello South Africa. A very warm welcome to Expressions. We want to say Happy Youth Month to all the young people across South Africa. This is definitely a place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
And I'm your host, Umqolisi Masango. Now, have we made progress in terms of our language reform policy when we compared 2021 to 1976. Now, as it's Youth Month, Muntomusha, we're reflecting on all the strides that have been made in terms of ensuring Oguti ulimi letu comes out as it should, and people, Jackie, are free to speak their languages. Now, we're also going to be having conversations around this on the show. What do you think on the conversations that we're having on the show? Do partake in Nkundleni Zethu Zokuxhumana. Have a look at this first insert we've prepared for you.
They say that language is a carrier of people's memories, culture, identity, and history. If you want people to forget themselves, teach them a foreign language. The inability to continue speaking in our mother tongue results in us forgetting who we are and cementing our place in time and history. The protest of the youth of 1976 against Afrikaans as a language of instruction was a strong message of resistance and defiance that simply said, we will not allow Africans to go into the night to forget themselves. Today we ask whether we are embracing African languages enough or whether we are creating our own cultural and historical annihilation by prioritizing other languages. You're watching Expressions, your #1 youth current affairs show. We are in location in Soweto at one of the most iconic and historical high schools in this country. I'm talking about Morris Isaacson High School, which was obviously monumental to the June 16, 1976 uprising. Now, today we're putting a very important and special spotlight around the issue of how much we are promoting languages, at least African languages, in our school. And the poll question that we're asking you simply is this, is that, is South Africa making enough progress in terms of language reforms as compared to the 1976 reform? Now, we're going to go inside and speak to some of the young people just to find out a little bit around how they're navigating this issue around language. Let's go inside and speak to them. Guys, a very warm welcome to Expressions. So guys, as Expressions, obviously, we just want to find out, what is your experience on the ground? Are we ready to be implementing, our vernacular languages as part of, a medium of instruction in your classrooms? Are you ready to be taught in your mother tongue language?
I personally think we are not ready because many things that are being taught in English, and English is a universal language. When someone comes from a different language, maybe he or she is Venda, I am Zulu, we can communicate with English, so we understand each other more with English. And the syllabus and the curriculum is in English, so I don't think we are ready.
If you speak to someone in English, of which most learners, it's not a matter of fact you would see they're not intelligent, but it's a fact you would see they can't understand the instruction. So I think it would be much better if you could maybe write the question paper in their own language, the language which they speak at home. It would be much more better for them to understand and analyze, so they can answer you in a way that they understand what they're saying, rather than speaking to them in English, because like it or not, English is actually a foreign language. It's not our language. Yes, it is a language which we communicate with universally, but it's not exactly our mother tongue.
It's important to be taught in our mother tongue because we easily understand, and we having more confident with answering and engaging with people if we talking in our language. And it's sometimes not easy to communicate in English because some of the words in English are hard to explain and are hard to engage with them. So it is easy to communicate in our mother's tongue.
Who's teaching young people that English is a language that makes you smarter than somebody else? So if I come here and Gubelela Sepedi and I communicate well ka Sepedi, now I'm not as smart. Who's teaching young people that?
I think it goes back to the concept of repetitive exposure. If you are repetitively exposed to something, the more you grow up being told that, oh, if you know how to speak English more properly, you are more intelligent.
If you look at the famous celebrities, they speak English and they thrive in English. And also English, it's fascinating in some other ways. Because like if you look at some other terms like Abu William Shakespeare, like poems, they are fascinating in such a way that you himself like now like.
Let's say this language policy actually moves forward and it's actually implemented on the ground. What happens to things like your textbooks? Are they not in English? Is it realistic to say Uguti everybody must be taught in their own languages? Is it?
For Tina, abantu abamnyama, it will be beneficial because if you were to be taught imaths in Zulu, you will know it because you are taught in Zulu. It's your language you speak every day from since you were born. So if this policy will be implemented, it will be beneficial for us black people.
If it's easy for them to write question papers and memorandums and textbooks in English and Afrikaans, why is it so hard for them to use our own African languages? Because I think as umnyama, your language is not just a way of speaking. I think indlela okhuluma ngayo, it's your identity.
Umuntu manje owazi ispedi, mela afundise ispedi life science ngespedi. Okay, and then even universities, we have to change everything ukuthi ibe ngesizulu. Everything ibe ngesisuthu. But we must be realistic. English is a way to communicate and is our it makes things easy, English, to be honest. It makes things easy. If we were to change everything into home language,
Language is not just about your mother tongue, it's about identity, it's about your place in the world, it's about feeling like you matter and being validated and so forth, right? So I just want to find out, do you feel that we've made enough progress?
I don't believe we've progressed because in a way we are still under colonization because we're still speaking a language which is not ours. We're still following ways of which are not ours. Therefore, in a way, we are still imprisoned and caged. We may be free, but we are in a mental jail as African people.
They change the whole system from Afrikaans to English, not from Afrikaans to Xhosa, to Isotho, or to any other language, from Afrikaans to English. And English is not our own language.
What is the message that we're sending to the country around this new language policy?
Because umema ngafundisa in English khona sele muva ka understand mina nya understand umema seka yaqhubeka ngoba naku I understand and the other person doesn't understand, which is unfair. So if we can be all taught in our languages, it will be easy for us to understand exactly what mem is saying and sonke sizohamba nge-level A1.
I don't think we're ready, man. We're not ready. I don't think we're ready because a lot of things have to be changed. There must be researchers. Our Sizulu, there must be researchers about Masotho who will research ukuthi chloroplast ngesosotho yini, ukuthi sofundi life science ngesosotho. But I think we should not let English to be a barrier between us and our culture, us and our language. Ingami emaphakathini ukuthi okay, English it just divide ukuthi we are Africans. We must still be Africans and be proud to be Africans.
Really interesting and powerful comments there coming from young people on the ground around how they feel about this language policy. I mean, there's no easy answer, there's no easy fix around how we are actually going to get there. But it's very clear coming from young people that they're ready for this to actually be implemented in their schools. Young people are saying very clearly that they want to be taught in their mother tongue. Now we continue with this also important conversation after the break. You're watching Expressions.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions. This Youth Month, we continue to reflect on whether have we made progress in terms of our language reform policy when comparing to 1976. Now, we continue to crisscross the country in quest for answers as we speak to young people as well as experts alike. Wena Muntomusha lapha ekhaya, what do you have to say about what we're talking about namhlanje? Take a look at the next insert. Khomolemo is from the SP Language Academy. It's great to have you on the show. Speak to us about, some of the programs that you have at the SP Language Academy that advances our languages.
So SP Language Academy, when I started it, it was mainly to have that black child or that African child have that sense of pride in their language. So it didn't only focus on the curriculum. So yes, there's the curriculum element where there's language policies and, speaking the language was a big thing as well for the parents. So SP Language Academy at the moment, it's solely digital, and then we've got teachers that we place in schools. But having said that, it brings people out of their comfort zone and we are able to impact more people. So if I've got a school, I'm restricted because of the building in terms of numbers. But if it's online, then it's open to everybody. And then obviously the cultural part of it, we incorporated indigenous games. We would play amache, we would play skipping, we would sing songs and nursery rhymes in our African languages. We'd read stories as well, just to bring that, that awareness and these old stories that we used to listen to growing up, and just getting the moral out of the story, and that's how you transfer culture from one generation to another, through stories, through games, through singing. And also, now that we are more aware, so I studied early childhood development, and I learned that most of these games that we actually play, so I discovered this while we were playing, that for example, if you play amache, it's not just about the game and the rules. It's about unity, so fellowshipping together. It's about the hand-eye coordination that comes with it. Throwing a stone up, catching it, and pulling other stones, that's a skill on its own,
So I get to go again. Yeah. So we've just come out of Africa Month, which was in May. Now we're in Youth Month. I want to know from you, what do you think is really stopping us as Africa from flourishing and using our indigenous languages to, of course, reach greater lengths like countries such as Europe and Asia as well? What's our greatest stumbling block?
It goes back to pride, it goes back to awareness, and it goes back to being happy about who you are. And unfortunately, if the parents are not in that situation, it's going to be difficult for the children to pick it up somewhere else, because we don't have those, we're not exposed much to TV programs that speak about a lot about our heritage and our culture. They are events, so we only hear those on TV if it's Heritage Month or if it's Africa Month. But if we would have them on a daily basis and feed our children's minds with such content, then they will come to the realization of who they are and how powerful and rich and beautiful their culture is, Okay, so this book, it's Roba, and it's for level 4. So we don't prefer to, as writers, we don't write grades. We prefer to write levels.
Now, we are asking the big question on Expressions today. Have we really made progress in terms of language reform as a country, as a nation?
Yes, I would say there has been a lot of progress that has been done. People are now becoming aware of their culture. They're becoming more aware of their identity. So they're starting to get in touch with who they are. And language plays a very important role when it comes to that. So luckily, they are now wanting to learn their languages. And in them wanting to learn it, it becomes available in schools, because the schools are not going to bombard people with things that they're not interested in. So yes, schools are starting to incorporate their languages more. They're starting to acknowledge them more, and they're actually starting to take them more seriously than before. So there has been progress, I must say.
So interestingly, we're also talking about that paper that's been tabled that will see some learners and pupils, of course, getting into the classroom and writing exams in their mother tongues, so to speak. I just want to know from you, what's your take on that? Is this sustainable as far as higher education is concerned?
Well, if anything, I'm for that, because it is much easier for someone to be told something in the language that they understand, in the language that they speak more often. So, I mean, I went to a university where it was bilingual and the question papers would be in English and Afrikaans. And as a result, majority of the Afrikaans-speaking learners did much better because it worked as, you know, asking a person the same question twice and elaborating more. But the elaboration is just the language change. So if someone could be asked something in the language that they speak on an everyday basis, then they will definitely find it to be easier. They can express themselves better in their home languages. That's another benefit to it.
This is also at the back of the 1976 uprising, when we look at that youth there who felt that they were learning in a language that wasn't serving them anymore, you know, and they felt their voices heard to be heard somehow. So do you think it was a worthy cause at the time? Looking back then, do you think it was worthy for them to take to the streets to say enough is enough, we want to be taught in our language?
Kudos to them. They did a brilliant job. Their efforts are worth it in every sense of the word. So the first thing was to get that freedom of expression, you know? And I always say in psychology, you get taught that what people want, the main thing that people want from the day they are born is freedom, you know? It's freedom and, independence, you know? It is a natural need in a human being, you know? So if someone is restricted to a particular language, it creates that need for independence because it takes away your independence, you know? Well done.
So when reflecting on some of the comments that young people and some of the stakeholders that we've spoken to on today's show, you can't help but ask yourself whether this is a struggle that is still continuing. 1976 was really about young people coming together and saying that we feel that Afrikaans is an oppressive language. Now are young people of 2021 saying that English is now the oppressive language. Now it's up to you, Kochai, as a young person to decide that and obviously discuss and think about what are the practicalities around making sure that something like this is implemented within where you are, Kochai. We continue though with this important conversation after the break. You're watching Expressions.
Welcome back. We continue to have our conversations around the language reform policy. Now, the next stop takes us to Pretoria, where we speak to Untombi Wuluwulu from the Pan-African South African Language Board, who speaks to us about the paper that is currently under discussion that could see you as a young people learning as well as writing in your mother tongue. It's so interesting. Have a look at the next insert. Department of Education has tabled a proposal which might see you as a young person ubhala exams in your language. So that is still currently under review. So we're still having conversations around that and dissecting it to find out who ngabama experts wana athini. Usisuntombe Wuluwulu is from Pan South, which is also known as the Pan South African Language Board, and now she joins us on the show. Thank you so much for your time. It's great to have you on Expressions.
Thank you for having me.
Usisuntombe, speak to us about the work that Pan South does in terms of ensuring ukuthi amalimi lawa siwabonayo, all 11 official languages in the country, you know, get the recognition that they deserve.
Okay. Basically, as a PENSAB, we're a constitutional body that was established to create conditions for the development of these languages. And so we do a lot of work through our different units. We have national lexicography units, which they develop dictionaries. We have dictionaries in all the official languages, and we even have your mathematics dictionaries. We have, so we've got different dictionaries that we offer. And then we also have your national language bodies, which deal with the quality of the languages. Now, this is where we do your standardization of the language, how the language is spelled, how the correct terms of this, that's the part that then deals with the quality. And then you also have your provincial language committees that actually deal with, now they work closely with the provincial government, and they advise on language policy issues.
What does this language review entail?
As you know, that our education in the country currently is very Eurocentric. It actually just shows you the colonial past and also the apartheid system that we as mostly Africans had to undergo. I mean, in Africa, we are the only ones, who actually have our children going to school in a language that is foreign to them. So, so these are the things that are being addressed, and hopefully, as it goes along, it is actually going to be something that is entrenched in our education system, so that African children can actually acquire knowledge in their own languages. I mean, you have to, first of all, have to learn English, and then have to learn the subject matter.
Yeah, let's talk about sustainability though. Is this sustainable as far as higher education is concerned?
Not all of us are 100% comfortable with English. A huge chunk of our population actually cannot speak English. And when you go to university, and now all of a sudden you are supposed to learn in English, I mean, you are first and foremost disadvantaged. Teachers, especially in black schools, they are already doing, are already multilingual in the class. You'll see they'll explain something in maybe isiXhosa or in isiSotho, but now when it comes to writing, that is not reflected in the education system. So I think what the department now needs to do is to formalize this, so that when I'm sitting with the question paper, then I can actually refer back. It's easier to understand a language that you live with. When you wake up, you're speaking your language. Other than English, you only access it when you get to school, or maybe when you're watching something. It's not really relatable to a lot of us.
So Sisintombi, let's speak about your observations, perhaps as PENSAB as well. Do you think we have teachers that are ready, teachers that are equipped, who are going to be able to say, look, this is the work that we're getting, this is the material we're going to be teaching, it's in English, we're also going to be able to translate it into a vernacular language to accommodate those learners who say, hey, look,
our teachers have been ready. Our teachers have been ready. Remember, most of these teachers, you would have your mother tongue speakers. They've been teaching children in their mother tongue, but it has not been something that has been formalized. So now basically what is there is just to formalize it, ensure, and of course there's services of translation, and also PENSAB does authenticate these terminologies, because if you're thinking, your mathematics, your science, we do have structures. When it comes to South Africa, we have enabling legislation that actually allows for the development of these languages. The only thing that is there is for us to actually just access it and use them.
Simko, we've come to the end of today's episode, and I think there were just so many gold nuggets, so many amazing takeaways that especially were coming from young people. But there definitely seems to be a feeling that young people want to embrace their languages because it's very much connected to who they are. Definitely. And hopefully this language policy is something that will actually be implemented, but it will be implemented well, and it will be practical on the ground.
Absolutely, Jackie. And I think some of my greatest takeouts was listening to some of our language experts come out to say we are really advancing and making great strides, because the freedoms that we enjoy in namhlanje, even some of the things that we are told that are going to be coming out in terms of language reform, are enjoyed through the sacrifice that was made by the class of 1976. So we salute the class of 1976, and we say to the youth of 2021, you take the baton forward and make sure that in whatever you do, ulimi lakho does come out, and of course you enjoy the benefits and the freedoms that you enjoy today because of the sacrifices of yesteryear. Thanks for your contribution and good lenzethu zokuxhumana from all of us at Expressions. Till next time, msale kahle.